4,
We should point the
3,
camera at them.
2, 1.
You start
go.
off.
It's pointed at you because you start off.
Unless one of us starts off sometime.
Welcome
to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com.
Slow your
Will
roll,
y'all
man.
Stop. What difference does it make to y'all?
It doesn't make any difference.
The sooner you get through this shit, the sooner we get to Alan.
Feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're not a member of our Facebook group, you should be, because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. My name is Wilson Horrell. I am one of your hosts.
Don't push the 30-second skip button. If you do, you'll miss this.
Yep, that's what
That's
I do.
right.
That's what everybody does.
Nobody does that.
Nobody.
You won't do it now because you don't know what I'm about to say.
Because
What are you about to say?
because Wilson.
I don't know. What are you gonna say?
Sometimes Wilson takes a minute to get through the
You
intro.
never know.
Sometimes he takes 15 seconds to get through the intro. If you skip 30 seconds, you might miss part of the
Nobody skips anything in our podcast.
Because even the intro is funny.
You motherfuckers get it out of your system right now.
It's like this every week.
I'm not going to go on the whole.
I just want to say I haven't said anything.
You've been good, Amanda.
Yep.
No curse words or any
Nothing.
of that.
Did y'all know we have an app?
We do have.
We have an app.
Lift Heavy Run Long has an app. It's not as good as the app we're going to have, but we have one. And for $3.99 a month, you can be on that app. And what you will get is 4 barbell strength exercises, 4 WODs, and 3 body weight exercises every week. You will be added to the Lift Heavy Run Long community, and you will have access to the Valerie Hunt, the best endurance fitness trainer out there. For $9.99 a month, you can have access to all of the programs that Lift Heavy Run Long has to offer. Anywhere from 5K plans to 100-mile plans. Y'all got me all thrown off.
See, there was
Triathlons,
there was a
mountain
pause.
runs.
There was like a long pause, and I was like, "Man, I could say something smart ass, but I already did." So maybe we'll just let it roll. And then he didn't.
We talked about the
Served it on a platter. You got to do it.
we talked about a demerit system last week on Slack, and nobody responded. And I think that I should have like a chart, and every time y'all.
How many things do you think he posts on Slack that we don't ever respond to? Like, there's probably like a long list of things that we never responded to that he's like from last year. He's like, God,
I've got that list.
Oh, he's got the list. We've never seen it, but that list exists.
When you don't respond to me, it gets counted. It doesn't just stay out there in cyberspace. It goes in my spreadsheet.
I'm going to go on record and say I probably have the most
You do?
on that list than
Absolutely.
anyone in the entire world.
Wait, how many of those actually have to do with on-air podcast issues, though?
Do you worry about me? Have you ever worried about me showing up at your door at any point?
I do all the time. Yeah.
You should. Yeah, I keep a list.
You're a big. I'm not going to lie. You're a big motivation for me.
Good.
To not
and
fuck
have
up.
been for a lot. Yeah.
You're a big motivation for him not to fuck up.
In what way? What does that mean?
Well, if like a lot of times I'll feel bad. Like I'll be like, no, I have to do this thing because Wilson's he will really be upset if I don't do this. You know what I mean? And I know I've fucked up a lot of shit, but like I don't like all the important. I feel like you would say all the important things I've came through on. Maybe
You should let somebody
But-
else tell you that. I think is what he would tell you.
What? No, I agree. I totally agree. But like, I'm just saying, like, he's a big motivator for me
That's good.
in many situations.
Well,
We all need
when
that
y'all
person.
don't when y'all don't respond to my text, y'all know what y'all are doing. Y'all are strategically not responding because you know that I chew on it all day.
And if you didn't, you certainly know now.
They know.
Oh, no,
They're
we
well
know.
aware. And it hurts. It hurts me physically and emotionally. I want to introduce my smoking hot wife. She's sitting to the right of me, being hot. Dr. Amanda Kimsey Horrell.
I am
Jack and
physically
Tan.
burning up right now.
It
It is hot
was
in here.
It was 70 degrees outside today. It is on its way to dropping to the mid to low 20s
Yes.
overnight. I think when Vaughn and I came in, it was in the mid to low 30s already.
My car said 38.
So I'm just saying that, like, where it's normally cold in here because it's been cold all day long, we are warm because it's been 70 all day long, and it's just now dropping. So we're pretending like it's summer outside, but it's not really.
Yep.
Yeah.
But y'all find a way to complain about it. Be uncomfortable. Are you comfortable?
She had to complain about it before we
I
went
took
on
my
air because she had to
sweater
take her
off.
sweater off.
I'm good now, though.
Where's the air? Why didn't you turn on the air before we got in here?
Well,
Well, while
listen.
we're airing grievances, Wilson invited me here and then kept the door locked.
You were
So I waited in the
rain
parking
trying
lot
to
for
get
a
in.
Pouring down rain, and I get a text. It's like the door's locked. I was like, oh, man, I do that all the time. What's new with you, Amanda?
Not much. We're going to the lake this weekend.
Yeah, we are.
Nice and cold.
Yep.
What lake are you going to?
Pickwick.
Nice.
Okay. Who's got you got a place out there? Does somebody?
No,
Have
my
a
mom
cabin,
put
or
a.
you-
There was some kind of
Raffle thing.
raffle-
Silent auction.
silent auction, and she saw where it was like for a weekend at some
Okay.
house. So the whole family's loading up Griswold style, and we're gonna just go down there and hang out.
Perfect.
Should be fun.
I like that.
Next to Amanda, we have the Honorable Alan Couch. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thank you for having me out this evening.
I appreciate you being on here. We're gonna have a good time. We got a lot to talk about.
Much.
Most of it is probably more food related than it is fitness.
I like food.
Yes, fitness. Save that for the next guest.
It's just a means to get to the food.
Yes.
You've realized you're an ultra runner, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Shake your head.
absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And you've realized how awesome aid station and finish line food is for ultra runs, and that's why we do this.
Yes, I'm working on my Michelin guide to Ultra Aid Stations.
Exactly. That should totally be a thing.
It is.
Stars, 5
I've
stars.
already.
It's
Trademark.
You're already
It's my intellectual
infringing on
property.
his copyright. So shut up.
Okay.
Basically.
Fair enough.
I put you on notice.
Next to Alan, we have the Reverend Von Ross.
Here I am
How are you?
in all my glory. I'm good, man. I took off work today and spent the day with my daughter.
Saw some of those pictures, dude.
And,
That looked like a fun day.
It was awesome, man.
What'd y'all do?
I had more fun than she did, probably.
Well, that's the rights of a dad.
I told last year at work I have all these hours that I can take off of work. So I have vacation, which everybody has vacation, like 40 hours of vacation, and then like I have civic time. I have 40 hours of that, which means I can volunteer my time to work on something. Like so, I'm doing Give Camp in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
And I'm taking off next Friday, the Friday after Sylamore
Oh, through
Friday.
your work, you do that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
And so I can take off that day and I'll be available for a Give Camp and then donate my time that weekend. And then I have 40 hours of personal time. So and then I ended this last year with like 30 hours of personal time that I didn't use that got basically tossed away. So I told Holly at the end of the year, I was like, I'm going to use that this year. So everything that pops up, like volunteer me, I'll go to whatever. So I went on a field trip today with Murphy.
Chaperoned her class or something?
No. I just drove there and met my daughter.
Oh, okay,
with her. I
cool.
didn't do anything except for hang out. As we went to Memphis.
There's the whole background check thing.
Right.
I'm sure he could pass it.
No.
He observed from
Let's
100
not.
yards away.
Right.
50 feet of church or school.
I wasn't supposed to be at the Children's Museum, but, nobody knew. So we were there.
The Groucho Marx glasses and
right. And, the Children's Museum, they got it all set up where kids can go shop in a grocery store and then they can go to the car place and whatever. My favorite thing of the whole day was the bank. And so they have a little bank set up and they have a vault in there
Yep.
with like 3 buttons on the bottom. And if you do the right combination, the bank will pop open. And so,
nice.
Murphy and her 2 little friends were like pushing the buttons, and I was like, "No, you gotta do this." And they moved across the room to do something else, and I was like, boop, 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 boop. The vault popped open. I was like, "I did it! Yes, I did it!" And everybody
You cracked the 9 combination code.
yeah, and everybody,
Something like 9 possible.
everybody in the room like looked at me like I was like, "Oh, well, I feel good about it." So I was a kid. I was a kid today.
It's
got
important
to
for you to
play.
feel
It's
good
fun.
about
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Big Thirsty.
Hey, before you throw it to me, we've got another guest sitting on the table in front of us.
Who is that?
Dobie. Wasn't
Dobie,
that
what's
nice?
up, man?
Petey Elliott got everybody. Did she get everybody or just you?
No, everybody.
She got everybody a Dopey figurine for doing the Dopey
for
challenge.
doing the Dopey challenge.
Isn't that thoughtful?
Pretty
That
awesome.
is a Dopey.
She and I and Lynn were gifted the exact same statue 4 years ago when we did Dopey, so she wanted to continue that tradition by imparting it on our friends that also completed it. So very cool.
So now we have the wooden shoes, and we have Dopey.
And we have Dopey that's joining us.
I think that's important. A lot of the shows I listen to that are video as well have like things that people put in there. I like that.
Send us things.
We're
If
on
you're
that.
out there and you have
Listen,
things.
we're on that
send it
level
to
now,
us.
man. Send us some.
know.
Send us some stuff.
This memo would have been good about an
careful.
hour ago.
Well,
I come in
and that's the
empty-handed.
thing. Knowing our community, we should be careful what we ask for.
Yeah.
I am not going to make that inappropriate joke that's in my head.
What's new in your world?
Same old, dude. I am running once a week,
That's
prepping for Sillamore.
Uh huh.
I did 6 miles 2 weeks ago. I think I did 10 miles last weekend. I'm going to shoot for 12 to 15 this weekend, and then we're at Sillamore, and I could double that and be fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm ready.
Sillamore next week. That's what I was talking to Alan about. I was like, man, he was talking about the weather and how it's going to be crappy because it's all going to be wet. And I was
How's that
thinking,
different
how
than
does he
than
know anything
usual?
about the weather this far out? And I thought it's not that far out.
Is
It's
it going
only 10 days
to?
away at this point.
Is it going to be wet? It's not going to snow, right? I mean, I just don't want it to snow and ice. That's all my thing. That was miserable.
That was rough.
I think Saturday is clear, and whatever ice there's going to be comes earlier in the week. But
Nice.
there's a lot of precipitation leading up to it.
There's ice in the forecast.
Earlier in the week, I think we've got a clear day or two in between, and maybe some rain Friday night.
So it's going to be muddy, is what you're saying?
Yes.
The muddy's just
creek's
as bad
gonna
as
be
the
wet,
ice.
Well, I'm
creek
not.
is gonna be
I
wet.
never worry about the
know.
creek, man.
And
Nine-
the rocks are going to be slippery.
So,
Listen,
Alan, before we started the show, you were saying I had actually met you previously, and that was at Sillamore this past year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say court. Okay.
We were in court together. You were suing me.
Yeah. How's that ankle bracelet working out for you, the monitor? I see you covering up over
That's
there.
why. That's why I got to be behind the camera. it's part of my.
No, I
Judge-
guess
judgment.
the first time we met was I was going out and you were coming back in, and then I came up on you and Wilson, and you were propping each other up.
Could you hear us bitching like a mile before you got to us?
Yes, I think you were talking about peanut butter too.
I can't think of anything better to talk about.
Wow.
than
Was
peanut
Wilson
butter.
asking if the trail went back down by the river before it came back up to where we were at?
We were in a bad way.
Yeah, that was the upshot of it all. You were not feeling all that great, and then I finished and waited and waited and waited.
This is-
And you
this is,
and you had passed us like 800 yards before. It hadn't been that long, and it still took us an hour and a half to get that last
You were at the
half
stop
mile.
sign. Just
So that was the first time the three of you met?
No,
Or-
I've known Alan for quite a while.
No, that was the first
Yeah.
time. First time I had met him.
I got you.
When
Well,
did you and I meet?
Well, I think Lisa Barker may have told this story. The first time we met, you came out and joined us at the spillway at Arcabutla. And it was summertime. So this is my first impression of Wilson. It's hot. He's as red as the tiles on the wall, and all cotton. From tube socks to shorts to t-shirt. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this guy is going to die. He's going to chafe to death. And, you told me your life story in the first 5 minutes, and I was just fascinated with it. And we ended up discussing it at the time. I had been presiding over a drug court for many years and tried to get my staff to get you out there to talk to some of those folks. And now I passed the baton on to another judge, and I will renew my effort to get you over there to speak to some of those kids, because it was just an amazing story, and I didn't know you before, but I'm proud of what you've done and glad to call you a friend.
Well, likewise, definitely, and it's only a request away. I love
I know.
speaking to
I know.
speaking to anybody that'll listen.
Yeah, to make it clear that
That's why we have a podcast.
the breakdown was on our end, not Wilson's end.
Isn't it weird how, or crazy, or just plain amazing how you never know in this community or the running community or the fitness community or even at work, like the guy that sits next to you, you never know what that person's doing. Like when you're
Yeah.
running, like,
No, at work, I know. I vet them.
okay,
Wilson
Yeah,
was just
fair-
random.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, I love it because like you could be in a CrossFit gym or you could be on a trail with somebody that you don't even know, running, 100 miles or whatever, and you're like talking to this person.
What's
and
your story, dude?
It turns out that like this person's a judge or this person's a high level, a doctor or whatever, and it's just really amazing.
yeah.
that
But none of us are those things when we're out on the trails, right?
Yeah, it's the great equalizer.
Yeah.
Well, that was
you're just a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
that's what I've really enjoyed about ultra running, because you do end up spending so much time with folks. I had a great experience at Tunnel Hill this year. I ran the first half by myself, coming back through Vienna, not Vienna, as I learned.
Is it Vienna?
It is Vienna.
Really?
They will correct
from
you.
Well,
from a local.
The more you know.
Wow, we've been calling it Vienna this whole time.
Oh, keep doing it.
Put that drop.
Be
in
the
there.
ugly American in Southern Illinois and call it what you want.
Wow.
But as we were going through, I tried to ask a worker a question, and they ignored me. And another runner answered it. Okay, and so we were talking for a second, and my watch beeped. I was running intervals. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I told him. He goes, "Well, that sounds like a good idea. Mind if I run with you for a while?" Like, sure, because I'd planned on doing the rest of the race, the whole race by myself. And as it turned out, he was running the 100-mile race. He was or still is, a PhD candidate at Indiana in sports psychology.
Oh, wow.
So, after a while, I started wondering, am I a lab rat? Am I the subject of a dissertation? What's going on? But the amazing thing was, he said, well, what's your goal? I said, well, it's kind of crazy. I want to finish under 12 hours. He goes, you're going to do it. I said, well, man, you take off. You've got, a whole other race to do when I'm done. He said, no, I'm good. You're going to do this. And stuck with me for that 24 miles.
Wow.
And, and then he was telling, about his background. He had volunteered for some program and worked in the Mississippi Delta for a while in Clarksdale. So it's just small world. But I guess that's a long way of saying, and following up with what you pointed out, Vaughn, I have met so many people that I would have never crossed paths with, that have come from all kinds of different backgrounds, especially in my insulated world that I live in. It's business, family, and I'm, a few friends around here, and I'm done. But by doing this, I've met folks from all over the place and formed, just beautiful friendships that I'm a better person for knowing everyone that I've come across.
I agree, and I think that we naturally put people on pedestals and think that some folks are less approachable than others because of their status, and you being a elected official.
Oh, I've done my best to dispel that notion out there.
That would be an easy reason for people not to approach you.
Sure.
And things like this podcast and things like being out in the running community is a good way to get with those people and find out that they're people just like you. And it really makes meeting people like you and having people on this podcast and people who are elite in their field and people who are regulars in their field and just seeing the similarities in all of them makes it easier to approach just about anybody. I think it pays off in everyday world.
It does, because taking that lesson outside of running the trails, I've found myself much more likely to strike up a conversation with a total stranger or go into some, event where people are gathered, whether it's a school thing, talk to other parents that normally I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch my kid and then I'm going to get out of here. And I'm more open. My wife may disagree with that, but I promise I've made strides over the years and tried to be, have tried to be more social as as I'm still maturing is what it comes down to.
As a judge, how often do you sit back and listen to conversation and hear people talk about the way things work legally and just hold back your ace in the hole? Do you ever step in like,
No,
may not be
because
right about that?
well, like I mentioned before, I do kind of live in this insulated world, and part of that's my own doing. But before I took the bench, I had friends that I worked with, and we'd go out to lunch and socialize and do all these things. And then when I became a judge, all of a sudden, everybody's sort of hands off, and for good reason, professional reasons.
Right.
You really shouldn't fraternize like that or be seen out in public fraternizing because, imagine if it was your case and you...
Because most of your friends were lawyers that potentially would be having a case come
exactly.
in front of you. Okay.
And if the other side saw the other guy's lawyer having lunch with the judge, you wouldn't feel very good about your chances, would you?
Right.
That doesn't make a bit of difference because I have known all these lawyers forever. But to the layperson or the outside observer, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence. So you do kind of put up this wall. And I think the question was, do I overhear things? Does it make me mad? No, because I never put myself in those situations, it seems. Most of the people that I'm around know who I am and they don't care who I am. And, so they're not impressed and we don't talk shop.
I remember there was something on the Lift Heavy Run Long community page that was somebody had posted something about carrying a gun on the trail, and all of a sudden it turned into this Second Amendment deal, and somebody was like, I'm starting to think I just deleted the post, and then somebody said, where'd that post go? And then somebody's like, I'm thinking these administrators don't care about our Second Amendment rights, and it just went on to all this crap. And then Alan sends me a message on Facebook that's like, unless you're funded by the government, then the Second Amendment.
Well, no, it was the First Amendment. You were censoring them and violating their First Amendment rights. Like the whole Bill of Rights talks about what the government can and cannot do. It doesn't. Sorry, Wilson, not to knock you off your pedestal, but the Bill of Rights doesn't really care about what you're doing.
I was like, dang it. I wish I would have had this like 10 minutes ago. I would have copied and pasted it. And take that. Suck it.
But you don't do that on Facebook, I'm guessing. Like,
right, suck it.
Right, you're not like, hey, man,
no,
let me tell you how this really goes.
That's why I contacted Wilson on the side, just like, does this happen all the time? What's going on here? This thing had just blown up.
It's really a shame, and when you think about it, because like all these people are having all these arguments and conversations on the internet, and the judges are just like, these people are so fucking crazy. Like, there's nobody on here knows what they're talking about, but they can't say anything about it. It's like, I'm not getting involved with this at all.
When I first took the bench, I think it was my first week of court, and when I started, I'm a county court judge in DeSoto County and I hope none of you know me through that. But it was just me, and county court has this ridiculous, weird, expansive jurisdiction. We do all kinds of stuff, including youth court. And first day of youth court, it was a madhouse. And some of the kids, you see how they come by it naturally when the parents would come into court and just act up. And at some point, I don't really use my gavel. I've never really had to do that. But I think I did that day. And I said, time out. This is not Judge Judy. I don't know what your expectation or your introduction to law is, but this is a real court. That's a real bailiff with a real gun. That's the real seal of the state of Mississippi.
And you can really go to jail.
That's a real jail, right?
And also, I think it followed up with, and what kind of lesson do you think you're teaching your child? What's the point here? And there have been a few moments like that because I think most people's exposure to the legal system is television, and that's just not how it works for the most part. certainly not anything on the Judge Judy level. No one's, when I first started, my first bailiff was this old grizzled military veteran, and he just had that look. Nobody messed around. My second bailiff made me look tiny. And then my current bailiff is a former power lifter. So when we walk into court, I'm no shrinking violet here. It kind of sets the tone, and so people generally behave themselves.
Well, you're pretty good even without a bailiff. I mean, when you come into a courtroom minus a gun and a power lifter, how tall are you?
6'4".
How much do you weigh? I know
Too
exactly
much.
how much you weigh.
Yes, you do. Well,
Well, you probably
get
weigh
to that
less
story.
since then. Last year, before Tunnel Hill, we had a bet. The
Yes.
wager was. Am I allowed to talk about you wagering on? Facebook?
for these kind of, I don't think the IRS is going to be terribly interested in the stakes of this wager. So
the
you go
wager
ahead.
was
Did you ever fulfill?
Nope.
Okay. That's
Yeah, I'm keenly aware of that.
Okay.
The wager was for a bucket of fried chicken.
What is the interest on unpaid chicken? Like a wing a day?
That's a lot.
Now, I wanted to pay. I was going to pay it right after, and you came up with the idea. You said we should get our families together
Right.
after the holidays, let things slow down, and then I can deliver the chicken to
Yes.
you, and we can enjoy it.
Yes,
all of
and
us
we
together.
will still do that.
And we're
Okay,
gonna
well, tell us
do
about
that.
this bet.
Yes.
And so we've got to, we're going to lose as much weight as we can in 6 weeks, which turned out we each lost about 3.5 pounds.
It was 8.
So I've got to go to meet him for the final weigh-in. I have my scale in my car, and I'm going to meet him at the ice skating rink.
Yeah.
Was your daughter at the ice skating
No,
rink?
a buddy's son had something out there, and so he wanted me to go see his son play hockey. And I'm like, okay. And, I thought that was pretty close to where we are now, and it was convenient for you. And so that's how it came to
See, y'all
pass.
met at a hockey rink in the parking lot?
No,
Set-
we
we're
met
in-
in the parking
We're in the
lot.
parking lot of a hockey rink.
Settling a bet with your own personal scale.
With our own personal scale, our two fat asses are out there like taking off our shoes and trying to get the thing level.
Yeah, I'm trying to blow air out to get one more ounce.
Oh, my God.
And so this guy pulls up behind us, and there's plenty of room. I mean,
You could have parked a semi.
you could have parked a truck and a trailer in there, easily a landscape truck and trailer. And he's upset that we're, I guess, in the way. And
I think he was offended at what we were doing.
Alan's on the scale, and he's nudging up. He's about to hit Alan with his car.
What?
Really?
And it was such a straight. This guy's a hockey player, so he's probably mentally been head checked.
He just wants to jump out and pound on somebody.
Well, but he's not in a good situation. I mean, I'm thinking this is a great opportunity to, I can
Take out some frustration.
beat this guy's ass, and I've got a pretty good witness to say, it really wasn't I didn't instigate this.
Not that he
You know how
would
many
do that.
times I get dragged into situations like that?
And then
When I hear someone say, I'm with the judge, and I'm like, no.
You're a judge. I can beat this guy's ass,
Yeah.
right? It's okay.
this guy's a judge. I'm fit to beat you.
You'll let me off when I
Because he's a judge. Anyways, it didn't turn out to be anything, but there was a good feeling associated with how bad can it get? This guy's a judge.
That is
He
good
knows-
to know that
he
that
knows people.
is running through your mind.
So then,
Wilson.
so you lost the bet.
Well, Lynn, you're just not giving this story justice.
Help me.
Wilson. So, at some point, we had this conversation about Tunnel Hill and what our goals were, and I mentioned, and I'd like to lose some more weight, and you asked how much I weighed, and turned out we were pretty close. And when we met at your gym, I think we were within a pound. It was insane. And honestly, that bet probably helped me as much as anything else I did in training to run that 50-mile race. I was so motivated, and I was also very disappointed when it was only 8 pounds. Like, why did I do all this for
8
that?
pounds, it's a significant number.
It was, but all right. So I have. You didn't come up with the chicken, but I came up with something. So
A
So,
trophy.
well, as you can
my
see,
goodness.
I have big hands. However, this is still pretty puny trophy. So here's the thought process behind the trophy.
That's a
So first of
chicken
all,
trophy.
I make a bet with a guy who's 10 years younger than me works out like a fiend, works outside, actually does something for a living. And it was August. I drive a desk for a living, so I think there's no way I'm going to win this, but I wanted to do something. But since I'm probably going to lose it, I don't want to spend a lot of money. But if I should screw up and win it, it would be kind of obnoxious to take home a big trophy for myself. So there you have it.
Look at that.
The 2018 Tunnel Hill Chicken Champ.
The golden
Yep.
chicken.
And now I can display it
He can
That
proudly.
is fantastic. Will you put it on your bench?
Yes, actually I
Man,
will.
That would be great. What
That's
a story.
pretty impressive. Tunnel Hill Chicken Champ.
I'm going to tell everybody I know about that.
And who's going to be the Tunnel Hill Chicken Champ?
Well, this could be an
Say that
ongoing
3
thing.
times.
It'll be an
fast.
ongoing. Now it has to be. I mean, you have it
Yeah.
engraved. Now we have to figure
Well,
out.
now we
Well,
gotta get a
I want
taller
one.
version of the trophy,
Like-
so there
like-
could
I know.
be the old plaques,
Yes.
like the.
How
the
can I get
historical.
myself a chicken champ trophy?
So, yeah, we need a bucket of
You gotta
chicken and
find
a
some-
green jacket at
Vaughn,
the
you
end.
gotta find
and-
somebody stupid enough to bet against you at Tunnel Hill.
Yep.
That's what you
Oh,
gotta
there's
find.
not. There's probably a lot of people.
Originally, we joked about getting a wrestling belt, having
Yes.
a wrestling belt
Yeah.
made up.
Those are
And-
expensive, aren't they?
And this was a
No,
lot
they're
less.
No.
I can believe that. Yep. I tell you what else was expensive. Last week, they were complaining about it being cold, and we talked about getting a Snuggie to have on here, like a 3-person Snuggie.
Just for the 3 of you.
And
That is special.
Whoever's sitting on the couch.
Pants optional under the Snuggie.
so then I found a Snuggie.
I'm
and
glad this is still in the development phase.
they were only $18. I was like, wow, well, I'm going to get Amanda one. And so I take the time, I put the Lift Head Run
seriously?
logo on there. I do the font for Jack to Tan, make it match the distressed look. And then I'm like, well, hell, I'm going to get Vaughn one. I'm going to get Thirsty one. So,
And then they were like $50 a piece.
and so the screen printing was $101. So it was
$18 for the Snuggie.
For the Snuggie.
$101 for the.
Well, that's what I
Correct.
did with the stupid license plate for my car. I was going to make a front license plate with the LHRL on it,
Oh yeah.
and it was like $6. And I was like, man, Holly, I can get this thing for $6. And I start going through it, and it turns out you had a custom color. That's another $10. And then by the end of it, it was $45 to have a license plate.
Because you're having one printed.
Right.
I mean, that's the challenge. It's like you're paying $101 or $40 or whatever for the like setup. But if you ordered 100 of them, it's still only the $45 plus $6 times 100 or
Right.
whatever, and or $18 times how many ever. That's the challenge. It's that whole setup part.
And so you didn't do it.
I didn't do it.
But now you're
Because-
on a mailing list for
because he-
life, aren't you?
because
Yeah,
he-
Correct.
probably.
Now I have
he
that.
Because it's
doesn't
still in
actually
your
love us
cart.
as much as
Yep.
he talks about.
And he's getting bad emails. Here,
Yep.
get loans through Quick Pay Loan.
Well, your Tunnel Hill, you were talking about your goal at Tunnel Hill. You did that. You beat the 12 hours.
I did that, and
All right.
and
That's awesome.
again, I have to thank my buddy Patrick that I ran into because I was going to finish. I felt good about it, but I don't think I would have run the same pace. He was a
It's
a
good to
pretty
have
strong
that person,
runner.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
12 hours is significant, especially for a Clydesdale.
yeah.
That's
let's
moving.
let's put this all into perspective. Although I imagine longtime followers of this podcast have had plenty put in perspective over time, but yeah, I finished in 11:54. The 100-mile champ finished in 12 minutes after that. So I barely missed being lapped by a 100-mile runner. But that was, again, it's all a matter of perspective. That was
Well, I
probably
got
the
beat
best
by about
run.
4 hours by a 100-mile girl the year before.
I was gonna say I wasn't gonna say 4 hours for me, but it was like over an hour 2 years ago that Camille beat me.
Yeah, I couldn't decide what race y'all were talking. This past November was the
Yes.
when you were okay.
Yeah.
And Camille ran the
year
November
before.
before. Yeah.
Camille was on mile 90 when I was on mile 40.
Man, I saw her. I was out there with her, watching her run past me.
But you did 1 minute on and 1 minute off the entire time.
The entire time. The only time I stopped other than briefly at aid stations was just as you're coming out of the woods to the finish line. I thought, okay, this is going to be big for me. This is going to be emotional. I kind of want to get composed. When I get there and it's like
Nobody's there.
Nobody's there. It's so cold.
Well, I heard Molly, yell. She was the first one to yell out because they were all crewing for the 100-mile runner. So, my crowd was there, but they were focused on the 100-miler. So it was kind of, hey, yeah, good job. Have you seen Lisa? Have you seen Kathy? Where's Jack? And you just kind of float on. So it wasn't, the ticker tape parade because first of all, it was cold and all the real runners had finished hours earlier. So they, I'm glad there was still a table with orange slices out there at that
It
point.
was really cold this year.
Oh, and
Like,
year,
What?
this past year was actually bad because they ran out of stuff in Vienna. How'd you say it?
You got it.
Vienna.
Like they ran out of like the hot soup. They ran out of like a couple other things at different aid stations that the years before that they hadn't run out of, and it was cold on top of that.
Oh man, it was so cold. I was thinking about everyone out there. I wasn't there, and I was like, oh man, it would be so miserable to be out there. And this was your first 50-miler?
Yes.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Thank
Sub
you.
12 for your first 50 is fantastic.
Yes,
And
phenomenal.
because
sure.
of that,
Choked up. So, right before I left, my wife had mentioned, and rightfully so, how hard it was on the family and all the sacrifices they had to make, tiptoeing around on Friday nights when I had to get up early and run Saturday mornings and, all the running around. I get home Sunday evening. Oh, great job. You got to run the 100 next year.
Oh yeah.
Because I promise. I know you and I BS a lot. I promise you, by hitting that goal the first time out in 50, I was like, I'm done. I'm good. I am completely satisfied with this. I don't need to climb any more mountains. I'm going to go out
Please
on top.
tell me you signed up for the 100.
Oh, I'm in.
Oh, nice. So Tunnel Hill in November?
Tunnel Hill in November.
Yes.
Let's see. Ribs? What are we moving on
It's
to
chicken.
after
No,
chicken?
It's chicken.
Oh, yeah,
We've got a
it's-
trophy.
that's
It's
right.
got to be
That's
chicken.
right.
It's chicken. That's right.
I mean,
But the
maybe
ribs
maybe
can be
it's
for the 100,
maybe
so
it's-
Wilson can sign up for the 100 too.
maybe it's maybe it's 2 buckets instead of 1, but it's got to be
Extra crispy.
did you say I could sign up
Extra
for the 100?
crispy.
Yeah, you
I
can make
like
it
that.
a chicken 50 and a ribs 100.
Uh-huh.
Y'all could do the 100.
It's got to be some bad decision.
Well, you'll do it. You'll do great at it. You really did need to go to the 100 after that. You've come so far, and you still continue to go so far.
The deflection is strong with this.
Seriously, so strong.
Yeah.
He
All of a
is
sudden, it was about me. Wasn't
he
it?
is the king motivator of convincing other people to do stupid shit. But when it comes to him doing stupid shit,
Well, my limitation is realistic. I like to convince people to do things that I know that they can do. It would not be a good idea for me to try to convince myself that I
okay.
need to be doing
So
100 miles.
let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
When's the last time you've been pulled from a course?
I've never been pulled.
Okay, then you haven't gone long enough.
Oh, you think is that the way that works?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've not finished. I DNF'd at Walking Tall.
No, you did finish.
You did finish.
You
though.
were you were not considered
You were
a
not
finisher.
pulled from the course.
You were not pulled from the course. You did finish the race.
You didn't win the shoes.
You didn't get to an aid station. They're like, sorry, we can't let you go on. There weren't some ladies behind you with balloons
It's
that
true.
just told you need to get on a bus. That it was time for you to quit running.
It's okay,
So apparently
honey.
you haven't
come back next
you haven't
year.
challenged yourself enough yet because you haven't yet been pulled from a course.
I feel pretty damn certain once I get across the finish line at Tunnel Hill that I can't go. If it was the Tunnel Hill,
Because you've decided, you
50.1
predetermined
miler.
Right. Because if you
six
were,
months
Not
six
finished.
months ahead of that race, you decided that 50 miles was all you could ever do.
y'all are gonna need to talk to my hips.
Yeah, this is not the same voice I hear when as you said,
Exactly,
he's trying to talk me
exactly.
into something. I remember the term that I told you one of my buddies came up with. You were assessing demerits, but then there's a remerit when you do something just utterly stupid that's so brilliant, and you remerit and make up for the demerit.
Well,
Keep deflecting, whatever.
it's not in the cards for me. It's not gonna happen.
just like you said, if you have your mindset on running a 5K, after you get up to 5K, you're like, I couldn't take another step. But if you expect to run 100 after you pass that 50, you know you've still got more to go. You would be going.
Look at the time. We're about out of time.
I'm going to put this on a whole different level. Like, this is like the difference of driving across the state of Tennessee, okay? So if I am driving to Jackson, that 45, 60-minute drive feels like it takes forever. But if I'm driving to Knoxville, like, all of a sudden you're in Jackson, like, in no time at all, right? And I think it's all about your mindset. It's about what, at the start of the journey, you've decided is how long it's going to take. That, you know, when you're done with that 50, because you decided ahead of time you're only doing 50, that when you're done with your 50, you're like, oh my God, I couldn't take another step. But if you were doing 100, if you knew going into it you were doing
I agree.
100,
Isn't that weird how that works?
Yep.
it's all
Like
mental.
you can go, I'll go out for a 5-mile run, and I'll be like, God, this sucks. When is this gonna be over with? But if you go into it and you're like, well, I got to run 20 miles, I'm gonna be out here all day,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Then the first 5 miles is
you
like,
don't
oh, wow,
even-
5
you don't
miles
even-
is up.
Oh, yeah, that was easy.
It's the last 5
really
miles that
weird how
sucks.
you can like. I guess it's like psyching yourself out or
It's
whatever.
all
Just
mental.
mental. And
And
also
we're all mental here.
Wilson,
That's true.
and also
Sign up.
I swear
sign up.
I swear that
Come
my
on.
body.
I can't do. I just can't.
Yes, you can. It's a click away.
Oh man, no way. I'm just not there.
Well, no, you've got all
Well,
these months.
The scenario that you use driving car, and you're right. I know what you're saying. But however, if you are going to Knoxville and you get to Jackson and your damn wheels fall off and your radiator overheats, you're not getting to Knoxville.
If you decide when you're leaving Memphis that the car can't make it past Jackson, then yes, that is going to happen.
well,
once you
hey
get to
man,
Jackson.
listen.
There's
if you,
some
if
cars
you,
that just can't make it. to
listen,
Knoxville.
listen.
I don't care
Or
what
you
you
don't do
decide.
maintenance on the
if you
car,
don't
or
do
you run
maintenance-
16
Look,
miles a year outside
all-
of races.
Well,
if you run
there's
100,
that.
if you run 100 miles, all this shit's gonna happen. Your wheels are gonna fall off. Your radiator's gonna overheat.
But
and
you know what? You
everything.
got the best crew in the world. It's going to put those
That's-
tires back on. They're going
that's
to have
what I
duct
think it's
tape
about.
See,
there
I'm not
at
running
every
this
aid
year. I'll
station.
crew you, baby.
I can't finish the 50 miles in 15 hours hardly. I mean, I'd have to turn around and do. I would be pushed for time to reach the halfway point.
I understand that you're
about
not
the
willing to
halfway
push yourself to
point.
that point of being pulled from the course.
Look, a chicken.
So did your friend Patrick make the 100? Did he finish?
He did. And in fact, I think it may have been his third 100-mile race that
Oh, okay.
year, but he had not finished the year before. He had to drop out. And so he was pretty motivated. So, yeah, I went back to the hotel, tried to sleep, cleaned up, came back, and was there when he crossed. And,
Oh, that's
and the rest
awesome.
of our crowd. So it was really cool to see them do that.
Cool.
Good stuff.
And it would be really cool to see Wilson finish.
What
Highlight
if
of my-
just the run in the 30 hours? I guess that would be the same thing. Is just run as far as you can for 30 hours.
That's what they want you to do.
Use it all. You paid for it.
Yeah.
See,
look,
with that
imagine,
kind of logic.
imagine showing up to Tour de Spree and actually running for 24 hours.
Yeah, I imagine it every year, and I never do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
'Cause it's too
and I'm
long.
calling myself out for that too. Like, I've never done it either. So, but like, I think you're capable of more than you.
It's
give
not
yourself
as.
credit for.
It's not
You
as.
ran the 100.
I did. Yes.
So
He's done a hundo.
what's
I've
the
done a Hyundai.
what's the whole nighttime thing?
It's-
Like I know Lisa said she saw a
Hallucinations.
ghost or something.
Oh, listen, we're not.
An
We're
old
not.
lady. Golly.
We are. We're not censored anymore. It's fucking badass. You want to do it?
Is it the best high you've ever been on?
Yeah. It's like being stoned all night, hallucinating.
How
and
about
shit.
that, Wilson? Is that not a motivator
Um,
for you? It's a legal high.
Yeah.
He also said it put him down the toilet for a year too.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
That is
his
very
mental
true.
game wasn't as strong as yours is.
That's right. I'm not an addict, so
Well, that could go both ways. That could go both ways.
Hey, Wilson.
I am intrigued by the idea. I mean, I do. There is more I can do. I agree with that. But running a 100-miler,
I haven't signed up either,
it's not
so
one of those things.
I just wanted to put you in the place that
I got you.
you could at
got
least
it.
consider it.
You put it where it needs to.
Oh,
be.
like he's considering. He's like, man, he wants to say yes, but he's just not going to do it. Yeah.
Hey, I got two questions for you. We skipped over reviews.
We did. We only have one,
So?
but we still got it.
Can we talk about our 5-star review?
Yeah.
Let's,
Okay. Let's do our review.
I feel like that conversation
have a-
fizzled out.
You have a reason for doing this?
No.
I was helping him change the
Change the
subject.
subject. Oh, yeah.
Well, Amanda already did that, and then we brought it back around again.
I wasn't going to let it go either.
it's the judge.
It's my fault.
5 stars.
I think Wilson needs to get some fan mail of them asking him to do the hundo.
Oh, tag him. Tag him on Twitter, on Facebook,
Oh,
on
that is
everything.
what we are asking for, people. If you
Change
want,
hashtag. Hashtag.
change.org, start a petition for Beefcake to do the Tunnel Hill 100 in November of 2019.
Hashtag beef runs hundo.
Hashtag Beef Runs Hundo. Oh god, I gotta go set up the follow on the Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
5-star review.
Yep. David D. Excellent podcast on fitness and life. Lift Heavy Run Long is a great podcast that represents an awesome group of people. The 3 hosts are naturally engaging, and the variety of guests connect with me every week. It seems like I always walk away encouraged, motivated, or challenged, and sometimes all 3. If you're looking for a simple, honest format that connects to life, no matter where you are in your journey, you will find it here.
Boom.
Boom.
Nice.
Namaste.
I love getting podcast reviews.
Amanda, thanks for posting the hashtag on the Facebook Live feed so that everybody knows what to use for Beef Runs
Did you
Hundo.
really just post that?
Beef runs hundo. Oh, that's the best hashtag I've ever come up with.
I could be talked into running 30 hours.
I'm so
Second
glad
que-
I was here for the
Second
beginning of
question.
the movement.
There we go.
Second question. Hypothetical situation.
Are y'all ready for a hypothetical situation?
We're ready, man. I've been waiting all night.
You sure?
We got. Do you know that we've got theme music for
I
hypothetical
have
situations?
no idea what's about to happen,
You don't.
Well,
which is probably for the best.
Well, here
it's
it
okay.
is.
You're a judge.
I'll
You
tell you
can,
what
you
it's
can get
time
us
for.
off when we're.
I'll tell you what it's time for.
It's time for
Hypotheticals. It's not hard, it's super easy. Hypotheticals. It's so fun, it's oh so cheesy. Hypotheticals. Tell your cousin Ben and your best friend Wheezy.
It's time for
Hypotheticals.
You think you're ready for this, Alan?
Bring it.
This
Real
is some
quick,
serious
9 Day
stuff.
Podcast just commented they love the theme music.
That's Ted Horrell Music. Ted Horrell and the Monday Night Card. Need to go check them out. All right, let me find it.
These are hypothetical situations where he's going to give you the situation and the choices you have in that situation. And then we kind of discuss which choice you would make and why.
All right, Alan. You can train a strict program, 12 hours per week, with the knowledge that you will win the race of your choosing. And then you must retire. This is 3 years. You'll win the race of your choosing 3 years down the road. And then you must retire. However, if you miss a day of training for anything outside of like family or emergency, then you have to start your training over.
What?
Is there a question?
What's
in
the
that?
other? What's the other option?
I would never make
Would you
it.
take that bet? Would you do
What's
it
the bet?
if that was the guarantee?
If in 3 years you could win the race of your choosing and you retire, or
I'm going to give you a training program.
And you got to train for 12 hours a week.
12 hours a week.
For
you
3
can't
years?
miss a day for 3 years, but
that's
you
like-
can win. You'll win Western States. You'll win Leadville. Whatever one race you say that you want to win, you will win that race.
12 hours a week. That's like almost 2 hours a day, 7 days.
I'm just not a good guest, I think, because I don't care about winning a race.
Well, that's fine.
That's
yeah,
not
you're,
why-
you're, you're allowed to say that you would
Yeah.
take that bet
Yeah.
I ran to
because a lot
eat
of people.
chicken, lose weight, and still eat chicken.
the chicken was enough.
So
Yeah.
so there are
You
some
had me at chicken.
there are some people that would take that because they wanted to win a race one time and they were content in after winning that big race one time that they were able to retire. There's others of us would and I'm going to give you my answer in this is I'd prefer to just keep running forever and I'd rather not ever win a race if it meant I had to give up running to win after I won.
I've won my age group at the tour a few times. And one time I did run 50 miles at the tour, but it was, over a lot of time. Took a couple of naps, I think. And I was just going to do 50, but someone who shall remain nameless had done 51 and then left. and that was pointed out to me. So
Was that me?
No, it was not. I don't think we're in the same age group.
Okay.
And so I ran 52 and went home, home with the plaque.
That's funny.
Good times.
We were talking at the Tour de Spree. Was it last year? I think it was 2 years ago. And you were asking me about my Franken pizza that I eat from Dodge's after I do any sort of activity
Yes.
at all, even
Ranch-
like taking the trash
ranch
out to the
dressing.
mail.
Yeah, he went and got the mail earlier and ordered a Dodge pizza.
And so Alan told me that after he finished the Tour de Spree, however many years ago, that you went
yes.
and bought like a $300
No
potato cutter.
No,
and
I
a
had
deep
it.
fryer.
It was I inherited it from my late father. It was one of his prized possessions, and it's just one of these commercial French fry
Yeah.
cutters. And of all the weird cravings, I went home and I made chili cheese fries. It was after the 52 miler, I think. Why? I don't know. I mean, it's just pickles and ice cream. It just
All right.
that's what I wanted.
All right, I got another one.
Is it better than the last one?
Ouch.
That hurt.
Ouch.
These things, this is very important to me.
I'm sorry.
He puts a lot of effort, like 5 minutes before the show, into these.
You're running and you're running and the guy you're running with, your close friend, lets you know that they murdered somebody for a good
Whoa.
reason.
He's a judge. He has to
He-
be
he
This is
can
good.
just-
This is
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm
He
a
can
judge,
just-
not a priest. There's not a privilege.
He can just let him off the hook. He's the
Listen,
judge.
listen.
That's what judges do.
You're
Just
running with
let 'em
somebody.
go.
You're running with a friend of yours. They let you know that they killed somebody, but they couldn't go to the police. You only have two options. Would you help them dispose of the body, or would you turn them in?
I'll send them a card, or maybe go see them on visitation day.
You're
They're
taking-
going down.
they're
Yeah, I'm
going
not.
down. You
not-
have to.
I'm not
you're
disposing.
professional. I swing.
No, I don't
firm.
have to because of my profession. I'm just not burying any
That's
bodies.
just what normal human beings do.
He killed the person had it coming to him. I'm saying that they had a good reason. They had a good reason.
But for my job, God,
Okay. Look,
Vaughn, you're saying you wouldn't help. You would turn me in if I killed. If somebody came at me while I was asleep.
Self-defense.
then we would call the cops.
I wouldn't ask questions.
If somebody owed me a lot of money and they wouldn't pay
Wilson,
me,
Wilson, I'd bury the body and I wouldn't ask questions for like months.
and then when those months
So-
had passed,
you would
I'm
you would
not,
help.
I'm not.
I would help and not even ask questions.
Yeah,
Just show
see?
me where do I need to bring my own shovel and where am I meeting you?
I'm game. Let's just go kill somebody.
Let's kill Vaughn.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
That's the last time Alan Couch was seen again. Amanda,
Boy, I'm glad
you
you're
would
here,
go straight
Judge.
to the police.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
You're probably going to call the police on me
Well,
just
you
for asking
don't
this question.
normally associate with people that would kill somebody.
It happens. I mean, you,
Right? Like, do I know?
Come on.
Do I know
So-
somebody that might kill someone?
Okay,
Sure.
so-
But I'm relatively sure that the people in this room aren't going to murder somebody
Okay, but
and
that,
ask
okay,
me to
but,
bury
but
them
that,
in the woods.
That is the thing. Like,
so when do we get to the lift heavy?
we
run
don't
long?
talk.
We've talked about running long.
Here's the trick, man. We don't talk
You
about
feel like
lifting
you were
weights,
brought here under
and we don't
false
talk about
pretenses.
running.
I was deflecting
it's
against
a-
murder and body disposal.
do you have any doubt in your mind that the people in this room would not commit such a crime?
Do I have any
Maybe
doubt?
they already have.
I'm pretty sure that nobody in this room would murder anyone.
So if Wilson called you and said, "Dude,
I just
I'm
murdered
running
somebody.
with you.
I
We're
just,
out on the trail.
I just murdered someone.
Yeah, Vaughn, I can't
killed
believe
I
this
killed
happened.
somebody, not like
you know
murdered
me,
in cold
like
blood."
I wouldn't.
I just ran over somebody in the middle
I
of the
wouldn't
street. He's
typically
dead.
do this.
Let's go bury him
but
in the
I
woods.
accidentally, I had to kill somebody.
They're in
You-
my trunk.
you
We're almost
gotta-
back to my car.
If it's
They're up here.
That's right.
if it's legal, if it's you call the cops. Like you wouldn't call me.
He's not calling you. He's
Hey,
running
man.
with you.
But what you're saying, you're in a situation where you may not get the benefit of the doubt.
I'm not going to get the benefit of that. It doesn't look good.
I got your back, bro.
But you have to know that I wouldn't do
In your
something
heart.
like this. But it sure looks like I did it. I'm in big trouble here. I
And so
can't
we're
go
all
to
going to go to
police.
jail.
Just-
So basically,
No,
the-
not me. I've already established
No, no,
that.
no, no, no. The question you're asking is, would you go to jail for your
No,
friend?
no. Would you help bury the body? And
Be an accessory to the crime.
Because you're going to go to jail if you do
not
that.
if you don't get called. You don't go to jail if you don't get called.
I don't do things that I'm not going to get. I'm going to say no.
I have
because
only been to jail for
If
things
there's a
I've gotten
chance
caught
I'm going to get caught, especially if it's illegal, I'm like, I don't want to do that. If somebody's like smoking weed over there, I'm like, I don't. You need to go do that over there. Like, I'm scared that I'm going to get in
remember
trouble.
when I
You're just
said-
saying that because you're sitting next to a judge.
No, remember when I said court,
Maybe-
actual
maybe
court's
so.
just not like what it is on TV? Before I was a judge, I guess I should have mentioned this too. I was a prosecutor for many years. And so the criminal genius mastermind you see on TV, there's not too many of them out
There's
there.
not, is there?
No.
Yeah.
No. There's a reason why they're in the yellow jumpsuit in front of you on the day of court.
And just to bring that around is like, that's why I'm not friends with a lot of people that are going to murder
Wilson.
somebody, because
Yeah.
the
How
people
much
that
CSI
do
do
that
you
stuff
watch?
are not that smart to begin with.
I mean, I've seen a bunch.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to start watching some.
Yeah, people don't get away with murder a whole lot, do they?
I don't know. I'm questioning all of this now.
Not in
Wilson,
my
I got your
courtroom,
back.
they don't. We're going to have to delete this whole podcast.
Well, if you
now.
and Brian go out soon, I kind of
Hey,
wonder
yeah.
where y'all are
What's
at.
that power strip down there? What is-
Oh, man.
We have hit the hour.
Yeah, it
Hey,
took a
you know
really
what? You know
dark
what we
turn.
got going on in the house? Amanda's parents sent us Omaha steaks. You ever had Omaha
Really?
steaks?
Oof,
I have.
Yeah, we're about to cook a couple of those.
tear that stuff up.
Anybody got anything before we cut it off?
I just hope they're actual cow steaks, not
Yeah, they are cow steaks.
It's
They are,
peop-
they
it's
are the
people.
bodies of
Not
they are steaks of the body of Wilson's enemies.
I got to call my parents. They live right across the road. I'm afraid that they're in Wilson's
welfare
oven.
check.
Well, you know, I spray herbicides for a living, so I've got.
Is that your defense?
I've got.
You're
I've got
just
He
like-
knows how to.
we're
He knows
like-
how to dissolve the body.
All of a sudden, this is a true crime podcast. Now our ratings are going to go.
Hashtag crossover.
We're going to go way up in the iTunes ratings now.
Everybody remember, beef runs hundo. Hashtag
Beef runs hundo.
change.org. Beef
Holy
runs hundo.
moly.
I'm
Lift
going to go
heavy-
home and draft my resignation letter.
Lift Heavy Run Long number 133 is in the books.
Boom.